I never believed in ghost stories. Not until Halloween 2013. I was not supposed to go out that night. My friends talked me into it. That decision is something I will never stop regretting. It started at Maya's Halloween party, with loud music, cheap decorations from Spirit Halloween, people in half-assed costumes drinking punch that was definitely spiked. I went as a zombie, with ripped clothes and some fake blood smeared on my face. I think that was really creative. I was in the kitchen when Jake started telling the story. Jake was the loud one, the guy who could not let a night end without some kind of adventure or stupid dare. He wore a serial killer mask that night. He carried a fake knife. He started talking about Willow Park Fairgrounds. If you are not from around here, you probably have not heard of it. But if you grew up in this town, you know the story. Willow Park was this old traveling carnival that was set up every October back in the early 2000s. Ferris wheel, carousel, game booths, all that classic stuff. In 2003, something went wrong. There was a fire during the Halloween carnival. Started in one of the storage tents, spread fast. 2 workers got trapped inside trying to save the equipment. They did not make it out. The whole thing shut down after that. The fairgrounds were abandoned, left to rot. That was the story we were all told, but no one really believed that story. Nobody wanted to buy the land because of what happened there, so it sat there, year after year, getting more overgrown. Jake had been obsessed with the place for months. He watched urban exploration videos on YouTube, kept saying we should check it out. Most of us brushed him off. It sounded like a terrible idea. But that night, with the Halloween energy in the air, he brought it up again. Ashley was dressed as a witch. She raised an eyebrow at him. Cody was our tech guy. Always carried a camera. He perked up. He wanted to test out his new GoPro setup. I could see where this was going. I did not like it. Ashley told them they were idiots if they actually went. Jake said she should come with us. Make sure we did not do anything too idiotic. She thought about it, then sighed. Fine. But if we got arrested for trespassing, she was blaming him. Just like that, it was decided. The 4 of us were going to Willow Park Fairgrounds. I still had a chance to back out. I could have said I was tired, that my parents would kill me. Any excuse, but I did not. I did not want to be the boring friend, the one who always said no, the one who stayed home while everyone else had a story to tell. So I said yes. We left around midnight. The streets were busy with people stumbling home from parties, but once we got in Cody's car and started driving toward the edge of town, everything got quieter. The houses spread out. Streetlights became fewer. We turned onto a long, dark dirt road that led into the woods. Nobody talked much. We were all starting to realize this was not a great idea, but nobody wanted to be the first to say it. Jake was in the passenger seat, scrolling through his phone, looking at old articles about the fire. He read out loud. The 2 workers who died were named Charles Grimm and Daniel Rooker. They were setting up for the haunted house attraction when the fire started. Ashley muttered from the back seat that it was depressing. Jake said, "Yeah, but also kind of perfect. If any place was going to be haunted, it was this one." I stared out the window. Trees passed by. The moon was full that night. It cast long shadows across the road. I remember thinking that if this were a movie, this would be the part where the audience yells at the characters to turn around. We did not turn around. After about 10 minutes, the road opened into a clearing. There it was, Willow Park Fairgrounds. Even from the car, it looked wrong. The Ferris wheel stood in the distance, like a giant metal skeleton against the night sky. You could see the outline of the carousel, the game booths, the old ticket stand, everything just sitting there, waiting. Cody parked the car. We sat there for a minute, staring. The place looked dead, abandoned, but something about it made my skin crawl, like it was watching us, like it knew we were there. Jake broke the silence. He opened the door, stepped out into the cold October air. One by one, we followed. The air smelled strange. Rust, wet leaves, something else I could not place. Something burnt. We walked toward the entrance. A chain-link fence ran around the perimeter, about 8 feet tall, barbed wire along the top. For a second, I thought we would have to turn back. But Jake had done his research. He led us along the fence line to the left, past the old ticket booth, until we reached a section where someone had cut a hole in the chain link. It was not recent. The edges were rusted. The gap was big enough to crawl through. Cody went first, awkwardly maneuvering his camera gear through. Then Ashley. Then me. Jake came last. Once we were all inside, we stood there for a moment, taking it in. The path ahead was lined with collapsed game booths, rotted wood, peeling paint, graffiti. The carousel sat in the center, horses frozen mid-gallop, paint cracked and faded, some missing heads, empty eye sockets staring at nothing, the whole platform covered in moss, dead leaves, vines growing through the floorboards. The wind moved through the rides, metal creaked. Something in the distance groaned like the bones of a sleeping giant shifting. And in that moment, standing inside that dead carnival, I knew we had made a terrible mistake. It felt like we had driven into a different world. Even from where we parked, the Ferris wheel rose against the night sky, a giant skeleton hand reaching out of the earth. The moonlight hit it in a way that made the whole structure look alive. The first thing I noticed was the quiet, unnatural quiet. No crickets, just the occasional creak of metal from somewhere inside. The air smelled wrong. Rust mixed with wet leaves, and something burnt underneath it all. Cody pulled gear from his trunk, GoPro strapped to his chest, handheld camera, drone in a case. He was serious about documenting everything. Jake was already walking toward the entrance, flashlight in hand. Ashley and I exchanged a look. Neither of us wanted to chicken out. We grabbed our flashlights, followed. The main entrance had a big archway, probably used to say Willow Park. Most of the letters had fallen off. To our right was the carousel. Even in the dark, you could see how wrong it was. The horses still there, frozen mid-gallop, paint cracked and peeling, some missing heads, others with empty, hollow eye sockets that stared right through you. The whole platform covered in moss, dead leaves, vines growing through the floorboards. Ashley whispered, "It was creepy." Jake said it was awesome, already filming on his phone. Cody powered up his drone. The propellers whirred to life. The machine rose above us. Camera light scanning the fairgrounds from above. On the controller screen, we could see a bird's eye view. The carousel in the center. The Ferris wheel in back. The maze of booths and attractions scattered everywhere. Cody said battery full. Signal strong. We were good. We started walking deeper, flashlights cutting through darkness. Every step echoed, like the whole place was listening. I kept glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see someone following, but there was never anyone there. Jake was in front, narrating like he was hosting some paranormal show. Said we were 50 feet inside Willow Park Fairgrounds, abandoned since 2003. After a fire claimed 2 lives. The energy here was intense. Ashley muttered the energy smelled like mold, but she was smiling a little, trying to keep things light, not let the creepiness get to her. We passed a funhouse, broken mirror entrance. I made the mistake of shining my flashlight inside. For a split second, I saw our reflections, distorted, stretched out, wrong. My stomach turned. I moved the light away fast. Further down, we found old food stands, cotton candy, hot dogs, fresh popcorn, all boarded up. You could still see menu outlines painted on walls. A trash can tipped over years ago. Ancient wrappers and soda cups fused to the ground. Cody said this place must have been packed back in the day. I said yeah, until it was not. That is when it began. At first I thought it was wind, maybe a tree branch scraping metal, but then I heard it again, clearer. Music, faint, distant, unmistakable. A slow, haunting carnival tune, like something from an old music box. We all stopped walking. Ashley asked if we heard that. I said yeah. We all heard it. Cody checked his drone controller, not coming from his equipment. I asked where it was coming from. Nobody answered. We all turned our heads, same direction, toward the carousel. That is when I felt it. Cold, creeping. We were not alone. Something was watching us. Whatever it was had been waiting. And now we were here. The music kept playing. That slow, warped melody drifting through the dead fairground. Getting closer. Or maybe we were getting closer to it. Hard to tell. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Like the place itself was breathing it out. Jake said we should check it out. His voice did not sound as confident anymore. Ashley said we should leave. Cody was already walking toward the carousel, camera raised. I did not want to follow, but I did not want to stay behind either. We moved as a group, slow, toward the center of the fairgrounds, toward that music. The carousel loomed ahead, those eyeless horses watching, the platform covered in rot, and still that music played. Soft, wrong, calling us forward. I remember thinking, we should run, get back to the car, leave this place behind. But my feet kept moving, one step, then another, deeper into the fairground, closer to whatever was waiting. And then I saw the music box. We had been walking for maybe 15 minutes, weaving through broken booths, rusted attractions. When Cody stopped, his flashlight landed on an old prize booth. The booth was in good condition, too good. The counter intact, a faded sign above it, win every time, peeling red letters. But what made him stop was something on the counter, a music box. Not just any music box. This thing was ornate, hand-painted, shaped like a tiny carousel. Little horses on it, perfectly detailed, gold trim around the edges. The wood looked polished, clean, way too clean for a place abandoned over 10 years. Everything else covered in rust, grime, moss, graffiti. But this music box looked like someone placed it there yesterday, not a speck of dust. Jake walked over. Said that should not be here. He was right. Ashley hung back, arms crossed. Said she did not like this. Someone was messing with us. I suggested maybe someone left it as a marker. I did not believe that. Cody reached out. Before we could stop him, he picked it up, held it to his camera, like he found treasure, small enough to fit in his hands. When he turned it over, we saw a brass key sticking out the bottom. He said he bet it still worked. Ashley told him not to. Seriously, put it down." But Jake egged him on, dared him to wind it up. I wanted to tell him not to, every instinct screaming this was bad, but I did not say anything, just stood there, watched. Cody looked at the box, then Jake, then back. He turned the brass key. Once, twice, 3 times. Let go. The music box started to play. Slow at first, hesitant, like the mechanism inside was struggling. Then, it picked up speed. A haunting melody filled the air. The kind of tune you hear at a carnival. Cheerful, but sad. The kind that sticks in your head. We stood there, listening. And then from somewhere deep in the fairgrounds we heard it. The same song. Faint at first, almost an echo. But definitely there. Same melody, same rhythm. Playing from somewhere in the darkness. Jake said, "Okay, that is weird." First time that night he sounded nervous. Cody stopped recording, looked around, asked where that was coming from. Ashley said she did not know, did not want to find out, her voice shaking. The music from the box wound down, stopped, but the other music kept going, getting louder. I turned toward the sound. My flashlight beam landed on the carousel, center of the fairgrounds. That is when I saw it. The carousel was glowing. Not bright, just enough to see. Little string lights, the kind that wrapped around the top of the platform, flickering on one by one, dim, unsteady, struggling to stay lit, but definitely on. Cody whispered, "No way." I said there was no power here. Had not been power in over 10 years. But the lights kept flickering. The music kept playing. And then the platform started to turn. Slow at first. A faint creak of metal on metal. Then it picked up speed. The horses began to bob up and down, like the ride was actually running. We stood there, frozen, watching this impossible thing happen. Jake muttered this was insane, absolutely insane, but he was already lifting his phone, recording. Ashley grabbed my arm, fingers digging into my jacket, said we needed to leave, right now. I agreed. Yeah, we should leave. But Cody and Jake were already moving toward the carousel, cameras raised. Ashley shouted after them, "Come on. This was not funny." Jake called back. "We came here for this. Had to get it on camera. I wanted to run. Every part of me wanted to turn around, sprint back to the car, but I could not leave my friends. So I followed, Ashley beside me, toward the glowing, spinning carousel. The music was louder now, almost deafening. The lights flashing in an erratic stuttering pattern. That is when Cody's drone fell, just dropped. No warning, no error, nothing. Hit the ground with a crunch. Propellers stopped. Cody stared at his controller, frantically pressing buttons. Said, "What the hell? Battery still full. No signal loss." It just stopped. He did not finish. Because that is when I saw him, standing behind one of the game booths, barely visible in shadows. A man, tall, wearing a faded carnival worker uniform, red and yellow stripes, scorched and burnt at the edges, and his face. His face had big wide eyes. Wide, too wide, like they were painted on but also real, and black paint smeared across it in patterns. Not makeup, part of him, like it had been burned into his skin. His mouth stretched too far. Teeth too big. Too many. And he was staring right at us. Not moving, not blinking, just staring. The carousel music warped. Slowed down, like a record dying. The lights flickered faster. On off, casting his shadow long across the ground. It stretched toward us, reached, And then he smiled. Not a human smile. Something else. It was not a friendly smile. The kind that made your stomach drop. The kind that told you something was very wrong. Ashley whispered, asking who the hell that was. Voice shaking. Nobody answered because none of us knew what to say. Jake had lowered his phone. Even he looked freaked out. Cody, staring at his drone controller, trying to process why his equipment just died. And me? I could not stop looking at that man. Something about him felt wrong. Totally wrong in every dimension. Not just creepy, fundamentally wrong. Like he should not be there. Was not supposed to exist. Why would someone's eyes be that wide and white, and his teeth? Why were they that big and scary when he smiled? Jake said maybe it was someone who works here, security guard or something. His voice did not sound convincing. I shot back. In a burnt clown outfit? At midnight? On Halloween? Jake had no answer. Ashley said louder, we should go. Right now. We needed to leave. Cody agreed, shoving his broken drone into his backpack. He was done. Too weird. For once, Jake did not argue, just nodded. Started backing away from the carousel, eyes on the man in shadows. We all started moving. Slow at first, then faster. Back the way we came. Back toward the entrance. The fence. The car. But as we walked, I noticed something. The path did not look the same. I know that sounds crazy, but I swear the layout had changed. The booths we passed on the way in were in different positions. A funhouse mirror attraction on our right. I did not remember seeing it before. I asked if this looked different, trying to keep my voice steady. Ashley looked around. Flashlight sweeping. Yeah, it does. Jake said it was just dark. We were turned around. But even he did not sound sure. Cody stopped. Said no. This was not the same path. Pointed his flashlight at a sign. Funhouse this way. Arrow pointing left. That was not there before. He would have filmed it. We stood there, trying to figure out what was happening. Then we heard footsteps behind us, slow, deliberate, crunching on gravel. We spun around, went toward where the arrow pointed. It led into a bigger hallway, way darker. Our flashlights barely cut through. The hallway lined with old wooden chairs, both sides. Some tipped over, others with rotted legs barely holding. Rusty tools scattered on the ground. Bent crowbar, hammer with cracked handle. Things left behind in a hurry. The walls covered in peeling wallpaper, faded clown faces printed on them. Their eyes following us as we moved. And the smell, God, the smell was worse here. Mixed with something metallic. Something that made you think of blood. Then we saw the scarecrows. Each pole in the hall had one tied to it. Bloody overalls, stitched up faces with button eyes, crooked mouths. Some held fake knives, others axes. Hung limp against poles like bodies waiting to drop. Way too creepy. And there he was again, the man in the burnt uniform, standing at the far end, but closer now, way closer, maybe 20 feet. Still smiling, Jake called out. Asked if we could help him, trying to sound tough. Voice cracked. The man did not respond, just tilted his head, like beckoning us closer. Ashley said firmly we were leaving. Did not mean to trespass, just leaving. Still nothing. Then he took a step. Boots scraped against ground. The lights in the hall flickered on, brighter this time. That is when we saw it clearly. The scarecrows were not tied with rope. Red cloth, stained red cloth, and the floor looked bloody all over. Dark dried stains spreading from each pole. like something had been dragged. I could see his uniform was not just burnt, melted in places, like he had been caught in fire. His skin looked wrong, waxy, discolored, and those eyes, big white eyes, black paint smeared around them. Then, the music began again. That same haunting carnival tune, louder now, echoing through the hall. And then, the scarecrows started moving, not swaying, moving. Their heads turned toward us. Arms shifted position, ready to plunge knives, waiting for the signal. I said run. Nobody argued. We just ran, bolted down the path. Flashlights bouncing wildly. Footsteps echoing. I did not look back, did not want to see if he was following. All I could think about was getting to that hole in the fence, getting out. But Jake in the lead skidded to a stop. So suddenly, Cody almost crashed into him. Cody shouted, asking what he was doing. Why did he stop? Jake pointed ahead, flashlight shaking. That is when we saw it. The fence. The hole we crawled through. No longer there. Gone. Not covered. Not blocked. Just gone. Like it never existed. The fence stretched solid and unbroken. Chain link. Rusted but intact. Ashley breathed. It was impossible. We came through right here. She knew we did. I suggested maybe further down. Maybe we missed it in the dark. I knew it was not. We started moving along the fence line, searching desperately. But there was nothing, just fence. Endless fence. Behind us, the carousel music getting louder, following us. That is when we heard a voice. Faint at first, getting clearer. Coming from speakers scattered around the fairgrounds, the kind used for announcements. But the voice was not announcing. It was calling a name. Ashley. Drawn out. Echoing. Ashley. Ashley froze, face going pale. Asked if we heard that. I said yeah, we all heard it. The voice came again. Different name. Cody. Cody's hands shaking. Asked what the hell this was. Jake grabbed his arm, told him not to listen, just keep moving. But the voice kept going, cycling through our names. Ja, Cody, Ashley, and then mine. Hearing your own name echoing through an abandoned carnival at midnight, something I would not wish on anyone. It sounded wrong. Like whoever was saying it did not know how to pronounce it. Mimicking something it heard, but did not understand. Then, as suddenly as it started, the music stopped. Lights on the carousel flickered one last time, went out. The whole fairground plunged into darkness. Our flashlights now the only light. For a moment, everything was silent. And then we heard screaming. Not from us. From somewhere else. From everywhere. From the rides. The booths. The carousel. The Ferris wheel. All at once. Voices. Screaming our names. Over and over. Getting louder. Closer. And then the footsteps came. Running from all directions. Dragging. Scraping. Coming for us. We ran into the dark, and the fairground swallowed us whole.